Right now on 10 News, through sources, we've just discovered how an FBI agent used the terrain and a hunch to help break open Chelsea King's murder case.
Plus, why the judge ruled against the King and Dubois families, allowing details of their daughter's murders to be made public.
These are the most difficult cases going back to, if you remember, Watergate and getting the Nixon tapes.
And the mountain areas aren't the only ones getting cold temperatures. Which cities could drop another 10 degrees?
10 News is on top of several major developments tonight related to the Chelsea King and Amber Dubois murders. Today, the gag order was lifted by a judge, allowing details of John Gardner's crimes to be made public. And within just a few minutes of that development, 10 News learned who led searchers to Chelsea's body. 10 News had a team of reporters covering every angle to this story. We begin tonight with Preston Phillips at the downtown jail with the judge's decision to release the information despite the objections of Chelsea's parents.
Inside here sits the man who has made life a living hell for the Kings and Dubois. Now with the gag order lifted, every piece of documented information, including police files, photos, the medical examiner's notes, could soon be made public.
As adults, we suffer, but as children, they lost their siblings. It's a much different pain that they're going through than anyone could ever imagine.
Amber Dubois' father, Maurice, says 99% of the documents pertaining to Amber's investigation and death never mention John Gardner's involvement. Dubois' main concern now, the Kings having to relive their daughter's recent murder in graphic detail.
To possibly inflict more pain on them and more problems in their future is mind-boggling.
A declaration submitted by Chelsea King's father in court detailed the torture they feel every day and concerns regarding their 13-year-old son's well-being. And this, quote, "We have nightmares and panic as we visualize how she must have spent her last few minutes and seconds of her life." In court today, Judge David Danielson stated the decision to keep all documents and photos sealed would have infringed on society's First Amendment rights. Knowing the media wasn't interested in publishing or broadcasting pictures or gruesome details, but rather information about how Gardner operated and what led to his arrest, media attorney Guylan Cummins said this.
While I understand the parents' wishes in this case, the hard thing is that if every victim in society and every defendant in society, because defendants ask for secrecy too, had secrecy, society would never be informed about how and why crimes occurred, how law enforcement deals with them, how the criminal justice system responds.
Reporting downtown, Preston Phillips, 10 News.
The legal argument the King and Dubois families used to keep the record sealed was based on Marsy's Law, passed by California voters 2 years ago. The law is meant to protect crime victims. It's a delicate balance between respecting privacy and protecting the public's right to know. We know Chelsea King was raped and strangled. We know who did it. To keep other details of the crime out of the public view, the King family turned to a law named for another murdered girl, Marcy Nichols.
She was my best friend, and I loved her, and I still miss her.
Marcy was shot to death by an ex-boyfriend soon after her mother ran into the killer in the store, unaware he had made bail. That prompted the family to champion Marsy's Law, which voters passed in 2008. The law's intention?
A broad array of rights with regard to privacy, protection, freedom from intimidation, harassment.
The law requires prosecutors and courts to take victims' safety and opinions into consideration and to notify them of major case developments. The Kings unsuccessfully used it to try to block the release of records.
There are a lot of sensitive issues.
Attorney Mario Conti feels for the families of Chelsea King and Amber Dubois and says public disclosure is often controversial.
These are the most difficult cases going back to, if you remember, Watergate and getting the Nixon tapes.
Courts, he says, usually err on the side of the First Amendment and access to information, even if that information can wind up being embarrassing to a politician or a corrupt institution or difficult for a victim's family to endure.
We feel bad for these families, but these are our core fundamental beliefs.
It's not a legal but moral and ethical obligation, he says, for those who get the Gardner records to use them wisely and with dignity. It's unclear what information will be revealed now that the gag order has been lifted, but 10 News will review it and use great caution in what is reported.
Now, following today's court decision, 10 News learned it was an FBI agent following his instincts, which led searchers to Chelsea's body. This video from Sky 10 shows where investigators found Chelsea King buried in a shallow grave a ways from where they'd been searching near Rancho Bernardo Community Park. The veteran FBI agent began to survey the terrain where Chelsea had gone running. He looked how close it was to nearby homes, the placement of brush and trees and visibility. We're told he had a hunch. He felt there was one spot where someone could have surprised Chelsea and attacked her. He went there and began looking. That's when he spotted evidence of Chelsea's body. Our coverage of this story will continue in 8 minutes with the new crime-fighting tool now available to everyone in San Diego as a direct result of Chelsea's murder.
Taking a live look over Coronado right now, where for most of the evening, one of San Diego's most famous landmarks was in the dark. 10 News reporter Itika Milanes is there live near the Coronado Bridge with this mysterious blackout. Itika?
Yeah, Kim, mysterious indeed. The bridge's lights behind me are back on now. They mysteriously turned off for about 2 hours tonight. Now, what we don't know is why they suddenly turned off. We just talked to CHP and Caltrans for an answer, but right now they say even they don't know what happened. It was a long, dark drive from San Diego to Coronado Island. The only real source of light tonight was our headlights and those of other cars. 10 News first noticed the bridge lights were off around 8:15. Most drivers seem to take the darkness in stride. Even Joan Whalen, who's lived on the island since 1952.
It wasn't too much of a shock because I've been through this before.
Whalen says this is only the third time she can remember since the bridge was completed in 1969 that the lights were turned off. No word from Caltrans or the CHP, but Mrs. Whalen has her own theories.
Unless it's been some of the quakes we've been having, maybe the city's trying to save on electricity. Who knows? Everybody's trying to save. I have no idea.
Then suddenly, at 10:09, the lights illuminating the Coronado connector slowly dimmed back on. Right now, no accidents have been reported, no problems. We have checked with CHP, and they are confirming that for us tonight. So for now, we just wait to find out what caused this blackout. We're live on Coronado Island. Itika Milanes, 10 News.